Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Staging is Murder by Grace Topping, narrated by Emily Durante. Chapter 1. Your Home is a Stage. You work for that woman and you'll end up killing each other. Even your horoscope says so. I put down my cappuccino, took the newspaper my friend Nita Martino pushed at me, and read the horoscope for Capricorns. A difficult person will cause you to take rash action. I laughed and handed the paper back to her. Last month it predicted a financial windfall and then foreign travel. Neither came true. I don't think I'll be knocking off my first client, at least not until she pays me. Nita read our horoscopes the mornings we met at Vaquero's for coffee. Chinese fortune cookies would have been more accurate. Nita shook the paper. I've warned you, and now your horoscope is warning you. Why won't you listen? Because if I'm going to build a reputation as a home stager, I need the reference Victoria Denton can give me. She may be difficult, but she knows everyone in town. I'll give you a reference. You helped lots of friends stage their homes, including my mother-in-law. Talk about turning ugly ducklings into swans. They'd still be waiting for buyers if you hadn't helped them. That was for friends. Now it's business. Turning Victoria's mansion into a showplace will speak volumes, especially since it's such a large undertaking. If it would help, I'd stage a house for Hannibal Lecter. Believe me, Hannibal would be easier to work with. Wanting to change the subject, I rummaged around in my large Land's End canvas bag, pulled out a small box, and proudly handed it to her. Look at this, my new business cards. Nita read the card I handed her. Staging for you, Laura Bishop, professional home stager. This is so exciting. Now you can do something you enjoy and get paid for it. The sooner the better. My budget is so slim it's squealing. I didn't mention the crushing debt I incurred because of my mother's illness and funeral expenses. I needed to make a success of my business, or it was back to the well-paying IT field that bored me to death but would pay the bills. The staging business would also help me move on from the life I'd left behind. Laura, I've told you before, I can help. Thank you, but no. With 2 kids in college, you can't risk your savings on me. Nita frowned and ducked behind her newspaper. Uh-oh, there's trouble. Monica Heller stood at the counter, tapping her foot as she waited for her order. Her linen sheath and sleek, golden, chin-length hair screamed money and sophistication, neither of which Nita nor I possessed in abundance. As always, she looks stunning. I sighed, hoping I didn't sound envious. If we were from wealthy families, do you think we'd look that good? It's in her genes. Genes certainly lacking in my gene pool. Nita took a bite of sticky bun. Monica may be the best-known designer in town, but Victoria showed real smarts, hiring you instead of her. Only because starting out I come cheap. Besides, designers add the owner's personality to a home. Stagers remove it. That way buyers can imagine themselves living there. I took my last sip of cappuccino and sadly eyed my empty cup. My tight budget wouldn't stretch for a second one. Nita peered over the top of the newspaper again and grimaced. Drat, she's heading this way. If she bothers to talk to us, she'll have a motive. The heavy scent of obsession reached us before she did. Hello, Laura, dear. Monica gave me a smile that never reached her eyes and barely glanced at Nita. I hear you're going to try staging the Denton plays. That's quite an undertaking for you. If you find you're in over your head, have Victoria give me a call. I'm sure my assistant could come to your aid. Without waiting for a reply, she glided away like a tarantula that had just injected venom into its prey, me. I bit harder on my lower lip to keep from saying something I'd regret. She'd made my high school years a misery, and even now, over 20 years later, she still managed to find my weak spots. Nita ran her fingers through her short, dark curls. Just seeing Monica makes me feel like I should have my hair done. Reflexively, I smoothed my straight, blondish hair that needed fresh highlights. I know what you mean. I've decided not to let her get to me like she did when we were at Lewiston High. Nita shook her head and eyed me critically. All these years later, and you're only now deciding that? She might be ticked off because Victoria didn't hire her. Forget about Monica. When do you start? Tyrone and I are going there as soon as he gets off work, which should be any minute. I looked toward the counter to see Tyrone Webster handing a coffee cup to an attractive young woman who gazed at him adoringly. I couldn't blame her. He was the image of a college-aged Denzel Washington. I waved at him and pointed to my watch. He gave me a thumbs up and turned back to the cute young thing he was serving. A few minutes later, Tyrone approached. "Hello, ladies." He slouched into a metal chair and stretched his long legs in front of him. Scanning the room as though what he was about to impart was top secret, he leaned toward me and whispered, "I heard Victoria Denton is in debt up to her eyeballs, and the bank is threatening to foreclose." I slumped back into my chair and thought of the stack of bills lying on my desk. I had a lot riding on this project. If it backfired, Victoria wouldn't be the only one who was broke. "Do you think Mrs. Denton can sell her house before they foreclose on her?" Tyrone squeezed his basketball player build into my small Corolla. Money had been tight in his family, so he could sympathize with Victoria's plight. Tough question. Not many people are in the market for a mansion built before the Civil War, especially one jammed to the rafters with stuff. We have our work cut out for us. The drive to the Denton house helped me relax and push aside the thought of Victoria's problems or how I could ensure we'd get paid. It was a pleasant ride with the lovely Allegheny Mountains stretching out in front of us. Opening my car window, I breathed in fresh, warm air. Spring was gradually coming to Pennsylvania, and I was ready for it. As the small city of Lewiston spread out behind us and we approached Lookout Hill and the Denton house, I turned to Tyrone. "Please be careful what you say in front of Victoria. If we're critical of her decor, she'll feel we're being critical of her. No rolling your eyes, even if something strikes you as awful." Okay. I guess that means no gagging sounds either." "No, only testing." He gave me a cheeky grin. Tyrone always perked up my spirits. Even while he juggled a number of part-time jobs to help pay for college and help out at home, his spirits remained high, and his zest for life was contagious. I turned into the Denton driveway, which was lined with giant oaks that would soon create a green canopy over the long approach. At the end of the drive, a massive 3-storied limestone building loomed before us. The historic mansion was as old as the town itself. For years, the family had opened it for tours each April, and I'd visited it with a school group. When Skip Denton married Victoria and she moved in, she stopped the tours. Tyrone looked up in amazement. "What a fortress! Does it have a dungeon?" "No, only a resident witch." Tyrone laughed, and I decided I'd better practice what I preached. "Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. She can be difficult, but she's also having a hard time. The Scotty dog she adored died recently, and she's still mourning the loss. Remember, she's also being forced to sell a place she loves. That has to be awful." "The place looks haunted. It's not, is it?" "No, it just needs the right buyer to appreciate it. Our challenge is to make the outside welcoming and transform the inside into something bright, breezy, and beautiful." Tyrone eyed the gray stone dubiously. "You mean instead of dark, dank, and detestable?" "You could say that. I'm looking forward to how it will look when we finish." I parked in front of a garage that had once housed carriage horses. "I've already met with Victoria and made suggestions. If we can pull it off, it'll mean future business for me and more tuition money for you. If we can't, Monica Heller can say I told you so. I was determined not to let that happen. We climbed the steps to the large stone porch. Dried leaves covering the floor and the remains of a dead chrysanthemum standing sentinel next to the front door did little to make a good first impression. We would definitely have to do something to make the entrance more welcoming. Before we could ring the bell, the door flew open. Victoria Denton stood in front of us, a frown creating deep furrows on her face. She had been attractive once, but years of discontent had drained the liveliness from her manner and etched a permanent scowl on her face. "You're late." She waved us in with a hand weighed down with 4 clunky rings and a cigarette. As she led us through the foyer, she paused and ground her half-smoked cigarette into an ashtray atop a mahogany table. I admired the beautiful inlaid wood on the tabletop, but cringed at the burn marks surrounding the ashtray. A strong smell of smoke and what might be fried fish hit me. I made a mental note to add air fresheners to my shopping list. People became accustomed to the smell of their own home, which could put off prospective buyers. We followed Victoria into the living room, where she sank into an overstuffed, flowered sofa that enveloped her petite figure. Ignoring us, she picked up the framed photo of a dog from the nearby table, caressing the photo gently before replacing it. Tyrone whispered, "Should we sit down? If we wait for an invitation, we could be standing here all day." I whispered back and took a seat. Tyrone struggled to keep a straight face as he gazed at the large collection of Royal Doulton and Hummel figurines and other knickknacks that covered every surface, along with a thick layer of dust. Heavy, dark draperies covered the windows and beat back any sunlight trying to get in. Victoria pointed to Tyrone. "So, who's this? Your moving man?" "This is my assistant, Tyrone Webster." "That name rings a bell." Victoria eyed Tyrone critically. "How old is he? 19, 20? When I nodded, she said, "At his age, how much experience can he have?" "Enough to help you sell this place." I tried to hide my irritation as she spoke about Tyrone as though he weren't there. "He's studying design at Fisher College and also has experience designing theater sets for the Lewiston Players." "As I've mentioned before, I'm moving to Florida and want to sell this place. Quickly. It's fine the way it is, but my real estate agent and my ex-husband ganged up on me to stage the house, as they called it." I leaned forward. "In this market, staging will—" "Don't bore me again with all the details." Victoria lit another cigarette. "And don't go over the budget we agreed to." The sudden roar of a lawnmower drowned out Victoria's words. She jumped up, stomped over to the French doors, and flung them open. "Watch that vine!" she shouted. "Carlos, if one of your men ruins my wisteria, I'm going to report your workers to immigration officials." She slammed the French doors and turned to face us. "It took me years to train that wisteria. I'm not going to have a peasant cutting it off at the bottom with a weed whacker." She sank back onto the sofa and placed her still-burning cigarette on the lip of the ashtray. Tyrone looked stunned. I had experience with Victoria's viper tongue, but he only knew her by reputation. "Since I can't move out while you do your staging thing, try not to be disruptive." I watched Tyrone turn away from Victoria and roll his eyes, doing exactly what I'd told him not to do. Young people and their eye-rolling. He saw the warning look I gave him and mouthed, "Sorry." Victoria stood abruptly. "If we're finished here, I'll be in the library upstairs. I'm expecting someone from Hamilton Real Estate soon. Please let him in when he comes." She left the room, leaving her cigarette burning. I stubbed it out. "No sense letting the house burn down before we can stage it." Tyrone grimaced. "So much for being sensitive to her feelings." Sorry, Tyrone. I need the business, but you shouldn't be subjected to her rudeness. I picked up a stack of magazines Victoria had knocked over. Try to remember how hard leaving this house will be for her. If Victoria weren't so unpleasant, I could almost feel sorry for her. Growing up in a less affluent section of town, she took great pride living in the grandest house in Lewiston. If the rumors were true, Victoria had married Skip Denton more for the house than the relationship. The marriage had ended, and now she was going to lose the house as well.
You're right.
Tyrone stood in front of a cavernous fireplace and rested a hand on the Carrara marble mantel.
All this, and she still wasn't happy. No wonder her husband divorced her.
I sighed. It was a wonder Skip hadn't murdered her. I gave Tyrone a tour of the house, telling him of changes I'd already discussed with Victoria, and noted his suggestions. This is a grand old house. Look at the coffered ceilings and wainscoting. They're fabulous.
It reminds me of Hendrick's funeral home. No one's going to buy it looking like a morgue.
Wait and see. It's amazing what removing excess furniture, decluttering, and freshening the paint can do. Sometimes moving a piece of artwork to a different location can make a big difference. It's like when you design a stage set. Old-fashioned door chimes sounded in the distance. I walked down the long hall and pulled open the heavy oak front door. Before me stood one of the best-looking men I'd ever seen, tall, blond, and with a bearing that spoke of military training. Not since seeing a young Robert Redford in old videos had I seen someone who made me stand and stare. I disliked him immediately. Good-looking men are trouble, my mother had warned. I learned the hard way she'd been right.
Is Victoria Denton in? The Adonis asked. I'm Doug Hamilton with Hamilton Real Estate.
Doug, how nice to see you. Behind us, Victoria glided down the long staircase like the female lead in a classic movie, extending both her hands to take his. Charm she hadn't wasted on us now oozed from her. Doug glanced around the foyer.
I wanted to see how the staging is coming along. Have you made any progress?
I keep telling you my home is fine the way it is. You and Skip are the only ones who think it needs to be staged to sell. Victoria's frown clearly expressed how she viewed that. She looked over at Tyrone and me. This is Laura Bishop, the stager, and her helper Tyler. It's Tyrone, I said. Doug nodded at us.
Now, Victoria, if you want to sell this place for a good price, you need to spruce it up. Otherwise, it could sit on the market a while. In its present condition, you'd be insulted by any offer you received. You wouldn't want that now, would you?
He squeezed Victoria's hand. Victoria pressed her lips together, forming a thin line. She didn't appear convinced.
We'll hold an open house in a week and see how it goes, Doug said. If we don't have any interest then, we'll see what else we can do to attract buyers.
Warmth crept up my neck and face. A week? We'll need at least 2 weeks to get this place ready for an open house.
That's all the time we have.
Doug looked into the living room.
If you don't think you can handle it...
We'll be ready. How little sleep could I survive on?
I'll stop back in a couple of days to see how the staging is progressing.
As Doug walked with Victoria to the front door and out onto the porch, I heard him say,
You might want to consider my advice to contact Monica Heller. You get what you pay for.
My dislike for him escalated. Tyrone and I hurried back to the living room. Don't let him bother you. He's got as much riding on selling this house as you do, Tyrone said. How do you know that?
Heard it at Vaquero's. After old man Hamilton had his stroke, he made some serious mistakes at the agency. Doug retired from the Navy and came home to care for his dad. He doesn't know much about selling real estate and is helping out.
I moaned. Oh, my future work as a stager depends on how well we do here. We really need more time.
Then let's get started. Tyrone turned toward the animal heads mounted on the walls and made a face. The sooner we're out of this creepy place, the better.
Chapter 2. Use mirrors to brighten an area, but only if they reflect something attractive. Mirrors can also make a room look larger. Honestly, Nita, if I didn't have so much riding on this job, I'd tell Victoria to call Monica myself. I leaned back in my chair at Vaquero's and sipped the plain coffee I'd ordered instead of the more expensive cappuccino. Fatigue from the previous day's work at the Denton house was catching up with me, and I desperately needed the boost caffeine would give me. You must be frustrated. Nita took a large bite of Danish pastry. She viewed pastries as one of the major food groups. Is Victoria being more than her usual obnoxious self? I expelled a long, drawn-out sigh. Working with her is like pushing a rock up a hill with your head, and when you look up, it rolls back and hits you in the face. Tyrone and I are exhausted. For someone who said she didn't want to be bothered with the details, she's criticized everything we've done so far. When we suggested removing some furniture, she said she liked it exactly the way it is. She doesn't realize how crowded the rooms are, which makes them look smaller. There's never a dull moment there. I pushed away my half-eaten bagel. My appetite had fled hand in hand with my enthusiasm for this project. No surprise there. I won't say it, but I know. You warned me about Victoria, and you were right. I continued leafing through a magazine. Right now, I need to find a way to break up the massive wall in the front foyer. It's the first thing you see when you walk in, and it needs something to make a good first impression. Let me go through the magazines at the dental clinic. I recall an article that showed a photo of 3 mirrors hanging horizontally on a tall wall, one above the other. At the time, I thought it was a clever idea. It might work for you. For Nita, one of the joys of working as the receptionist at Dr. Malcolm's dental clinic was having occasional quiet periods where she could enjoy the numerous magazines they put out for patients. I flipped my magazine closed. Could you search for it today and fax it to me at Victoria's so I can see how it looks? We're running out of time fast. I'll look for it as soon as I get there. We're not very busy at the clinic right now. Do people still use fax? How about if I scan or take a photo of it and text it to you? That would be great, but reception on the hill is really poor. On top of that, my cell phone isn't holding a charge for long and dies out on me. Once I make some money, the first thing I plan to do is get a new phone. In the meantime, Victoria said I could use her fax, so send it to her fax number. That way I can get it today. I wrote the number on the back of one of my new business cards and handed it to her. I'll send it this afternoon. If you don't get it today, give me a call. I'm notorious for transposing numbers and sending things off to the wrong place. Nita tapped the card with a rose-colored nail. This one I should remember. It's close to Dr. M's home fax and my mother-in-law's number. Wouldn't it be funny if I sent it to my mother-in-law? Knowing you and your mother-in-law, you'd enjoy confusing her. Nita slipped the card into her purse. How's Tyrone doing working with Victoria? Like mixing oil and vinegar, Victoria being the vinegar. His usual good humor is fading fast. Maybe if he gets the Quincy scholarship he applied for, he can give up some of his part-time jobs and avoid difficult people like Victoria. They'll be making a selection soon. Tell him to be careful what he says to her. She's on the scholarship selection panel. Oh, no. A sense of exhaustion swept over me. I'll have to warn Tyrone. Definitely. Victoria isn't someone you'd want as an enemy, and it doesn't take much for her to view you as one. After arriving at the Denton house, I spent the morning searching the attic for things I could use throughout the house and was delighted to discover a number of colorful rugs, lamps, and some steamer trunks for side tables. They would help make some of the near-empty bedrooms a bit cozier without having to bring in extra items. I worked cautiously in the dim light, careful to avoid the low rafters, and stepped around piles of abandoned household items. Heavy footsteps sounded on the steps to the attic. I looked up from the stack of linens I'd been going through. Tyrone emerged from the narrow stairwell, ducking so he wouldn't bang his head on the rafters.
Nita called. She found the magazine article and will be faxing it shortly.
Tyrone paused.
I'd have gone to the library to get it, but Victoria hides out there. I didn't want to run into her.
Can't say I blame you, but I think she went out earlier. I wiped my dusty hands on the back of my jeans. I'll go get it. I pushed open the heavy oak door to the library and was startled to see Victoria sitting at a massive desk with a phone in her hand. I didn't realize she'd returned. Don't threaten me. Either you get it to me by tomorrow, or I'm going public with this. She slammed the old-fashioned phone down so hard it bounced on the desk. I hesitated in the doorway, ready to turn away. Victoria caught sight of me and quickly inserted the papers in her hand between the pages of a book and closed it. What do you want? Sorry, I thought you were out. I came to pick up a fax. Well, come get it. Victoria brushed past me in the doorway, grumbling something about having me underfoot all the time. The fax hadn't arrived yet, so I sank into the chair next to the machine to wait for it. My body ached, and I needed a rest. A large bookcase filled the wall behind me. I swung my chair around and studied the books on the shelves. Seeing the distinctive purple cover of a Lewiston High School yearbook, I pulled it from the shelf, surprised Victoria was sentimental enough to keep it close at hand. The dust covering it tickled my nose. To kill time waiting for the fax, I leafed through the yearbook, coming across photos of a very young and attractive Victoria. One photo, taken during a high school production of Nicholas Nickleby, featured Victoria and classmates Jack Malcolm and Warren Hendricks. That must have been when they developed an interest in the stage and went on to the Lewiston Players, a small but vibrant community theater group. A piece of paper fell from between the pages of the yearbook. Someone had written Warren Hendricks in block letters across the top of the page. Below his name appeared a list of dates and dollar amounts. That was strange. Warren was the director of the Hendricks Funeral Home. Was Victoria making payments for someone's funeral? If so, it certainly had been an expensive one. Over the years, Victoria had entered into a number of business ventures, all of them unsuccessful. One of them may have been with Warren. At the sound of the fax machine turning on, I tucked the paper back into the yearbook and returned it to the shelf. I studied the fax pages spewing from the machine. Yes, the perfect solution for the foyer wall. Come quick, Tyrone called from the doorway. In the distance, I could hear shouting. What's going on? I'd expected a quiet day, but instead was beginning to feel like Dorothy in the eye of a Kansas tornado.
It's Cora Ridley. She and Victoria are having a shouting match, and it's really heating up. Maybe Cora will deck her.
Tyrone didn't sound averse to seeing it happen.
Man, this is so cool.
Cora and Victoria stood at the bottom of the stairs. I want my money. Cora waved her clenched fist at Victoria. I've waited as long as I'm going to wait. Now that you're selling this place, I expect my money. They had been partners in a catering business. Cora had done the cooking, and Victoria was to use her connections to get them business. Rumor had it that Cora put up most of the money for the venture, which hadn't lasted long. Catering was a service industry, and Victoria wasn't someone who wanted to please people. I don't owe you a thing, Victoria said. Our business went bankrupt. That's the way things go. You don't see me crying over it. What do you have to cry about? I put up the money and you made a mess of it. I never should have trusted you with my money or my husband. Victoria reared back. I don't know what you're talking about. You know exactly what I mean. I know all about you and Norman.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?